Hi everyone and welcome to this overview on Ethos ordering system. I will be using this PowerPoint presentation as a guide, but we'll be alternating the presentation and the actual system so we can have an accurate understanding of the solution. So to begin with, let's what exactly Ethos ordering system is. Ethos is essentially an online ordering process system. Ethos core functionality is focused on the capability that allows customers of a restaurant to place orders directly from their smartphones or any device with access to a web browser. This allows that customers can be very specific in their ordering and even pay online. Once the order is being placed, it is automatically visible by the kitchen via a KDS, a kitchen display system, or the standard orders management module. Then when the order status is updated to in progress or to ready, customers are notified directly to their devices. With the implementation of Ethos ordering system, the restaurant will optimize their order to deliver or order to payment process. This is essential because the real-time capability eliminates manually writing down and transferring the order to the kitchen, therefore eliminating errors in the orders and speeding up the service. Not to mention that if the order is paid online, another manual process is removed from the standard operation. It is important to highlight that Ethos ordering system can be implemented in any sort of food services organization. So it works beautifully in standard dining restaurants, but also in fast food or fast casual restaurants, or venues and events food services, in concessions, or a beach kiosk, or even in food trucks or hotel restaurants. However, for the different types of organizations, Ethos ordering system includes specific features, such as customer order status screen for pickup at counter operations, or the room service options for hotels, with the corresponding charge to the room bill option. Let's talk about the online ordering process, which is essentially the core functionality of Ethos. The process for online ordering has been designed in a way that facilitates customers to be very specific in their orders, including multiple variances for the products, as well as extras, modifiers, and even a section for additional requirements. And the whole process is very intuitive and easy to follow. This, in addition to the fact that customers don't need to download and install any application or complete tortuous sign-up registering processes. This makes the ordering process just a breeze, an experience that easily emulates the standard ordering exercise. As mentioned before, customers can navigate multiple categories, do specific searches, or just filter the product list based on characteristics. Then for every product, customers have visibility on multiple pictures, description, calories, characteristics such as gluten, vegetarian, allergens, or just suitable for a specific diet. For every product then, customers can specify the wanted variants of the product based on the extras and modifiers, and even leave a note with any sort of additional requirements. There are multiple languages available for the customer interface. So whenever the customer is requiring just changing the interface, it is very, very easy. And then the menus will be, of course, in those multiple languages. So let's move directly into the ordering process. Let's take a look what the ordering process looks like. I have moved my smartphone screen into the presentation so we can have an accurate idea about what the customer application for ordering looks like. So in this particular case, as the restaurant is offering both takeaway and dine-in, we see these two options here, but this is a parameter set by the restaurant. They decide whether they want to serve takeaway or dine-in or both of them, or well, it's just a parameter that they are setting up. Then the customer is prompted with this first screen after they scan the QR code or the access in any other way the restaurant site. It is possible to change the language for the interface. In my particular case, this is a test environment, so we actually don't have all the languages available, but we will see here all the languages that are activated by the restaurant. The restaurant again determines what languages they want to have available for their customers, and therefore in what languages the menus will be displayed in. Well, to start the order, in my case, I just select dine in. As this is a pick up at counter type of business, I'm not going to be required to enter any table number. But if it were just a serving to the table type of business, the table number would be the initial input. As I said, this is pick up at the counter, so I just select dine in and move directly into the menu. As we can see here, the different products are classified by category. So we have different groups of products in different categories. So customers can navigate through the different categories. They can see the different options available, right? Based on the categories list that are then in the menu. Customers can also search particular items, entering any sort of text. So those products that are including that text in the name or description will be displayed. As we can notice, all the products in the list are identified with a little square in this case, but probably the icon will change, where we see that is either red or green. That means if the product is suitable for vegetarian, it will be green, but if it's not, it is red. In addition, we also have characteristics specified for every item. So we can specify standard characteristics based on the type of food or whatever we want to use as characteristics. Some people are using things like um, suitable for specific diets like keto, that stuff, or halal for specific people, or well, depending on what we want to use as characteristics. So every single product has characteristics, a description, the price. If the price has a discount, we will see here. And then from this exact point, it is possible to add the different items into the order. So if we go to a simple item, something very simple that doesn't really require too much specification, like a drink, then we can just, from the list, add it directly to the order. Like this, we just enter it here and it's already in the cart. But then there are other type of items that require some specifications. So those items are just not possible to be added directly, but we need to just complete some information. For example, the crispy chicken wings, if I try to add it, we can see the different pictures associated to the item and so on. But then there are a couple of things that we need to respond or we need to specify for this particular item. We also see that also shows the characteristics, description, and then the specifications. Then it is required to add a sauce to this particular product. So we can select out of this list the sauce that we prefer. It is important to notice that some of the options might have an extra cost. In this case, if I select just something like barbecue sauce, this one is not adding extra cost, but if I select the honey mustard, you can see that it's going to be different, and the description will show me the price before the additions. So we can also have extra options here. These are not required, but just optional. We can select extra cheese, extra bacon, extra ketchup, and these options then will be added to the notes, right? We can also select some modifiers if required and even enter a additional request in plain test. Something like, I don't know, something, please serve worm. Just any particular requirement can be added in the order. So now we have two items, one that we entered directly from the list, another one that we just specified. Then we can keep adding items, for example, and please check this out. If I try to add another one of these crispy chicken wings that I already selected, actually the application will ask me if I'm going to repeat the last use customization, as this particular product requires some specifications to be entered. It says, do you want to use the same customization or you want to add a new one? So if you decide just the same, you can add it here. But if you want to have a different one, you just say add new customization. In this particular case, I'm just going to take it easy. I'm just going to use ketchup, nothing else, add to the cart. So you will see that in the cart now we have the same item, but with two different set of specifications. Then if we move back to the menu, well, we can keep navigating. I didn't mention that it is also possible to filter the items based on the characteristics. So for example, if I want to see items that have within the characteristics the gluten option, those items will be displayed here. We can select different types of characteristics. So we can include, for example, gluten and items to share. Those items that are fitting one of these requirements that I enter here will be shown in the list. So it's possible to search items in the search box, or we can just filter the list based on characteristics. Another important thing is that we also have the option to select what we call combos. Combos is nothing but groups of items that are sold together. So if I select, for example, within my list of combos, chicken combo, right? I see the description, calories, some characteristics, pictures, and so on. But also, we see that out of this, that this product, this particular combo, already has two specific items that are fixed. So this combo is coming with crispy chicken wings and French fries. But there is an option here to select a drink. So we want to see, we want to decide here what is the drink that we want to include in this combo. You're going to say, well, it's a soda. The other options will add extra cost. I probably don't want to add any extra cost at this point. So I just say I want to keep it with soda. We also need to specify what sauce I want, right? I might want no sauce or just the one that is not adding extra cost, or I can perfectly have one that is adding cost. As well, we can add some extras, modifiers, additional requests as with any other product, but in this case it is a combo that includes some fixed items already and then some of them that are variable. And I'm going to add it to the cart. Then in my cart, I already have all the items that I enter in the order. I can keep adding. I can just say add more items. Go, for example, for a side. Let's say I want to add some sweet potatoes. This is an item without specifications. I can add it directly from here, right? And then this is also in the cart. Then we can just move on. There is one thing that I also want to mention, and is that the modifiers, the extras, can just go to a, well, or can range from simple specifications like what we saw before, extra cheese, extra bacon, that kind of thing, or no onion, no tomato, or a particular choice among different alternatives like the drinks. But then we can use or we can find products even to the degree that you can just customize it entirely. Like, for example, a custom pizza. In this case, we might find an item that you are making on your own. So you are essentially selecting everything, right? So, for example, for a custom pizza, we can select the dough. So we want to say, well, I prefer thick crust. Then we keep on. Then we select the base sauce. I like, for example, tomato and oregano, and cheese base. We want to have melted cheese in the base or not. Say yes, I do want to have it in the base. And then toppings, what type of toppings we want. Let's say I like mozzarella and cheddar as cheese, and then as meat. I want to have some pepperoni, and I also want some salami, right? So we can keep adding items and then create our own specific item based on the whole set of parameters or specifications that we have available for a particular item. When we are in the cart, we can modify the order, or we can just simply delete, right, any item, and then it works just automatically. Then, when we are in the cart and the order is completed, we can also see a menu for complements. So the restaurant decides what products should be in the complimentary menu. So in my case, I want to say, yeah, I don't want to forget my cheesecake, so I want to add a cheesecake to my order. And then when the order is complete, we can just move on and check out. At this point, the application will ask me how would you like to receive the confirmation, the receipt, and also the orders updates or the orders status updates, right? So I say, well, I want to receive it via email, but also via text message and also via WhatsApp. You can select one of them, all of them, right? And it is also important that in this case, as we are talking about a pickup at counter type of business, we can add a name to the order. And in this case, if we are a name, then this name will be displayed in the screen that is showing the status or the statuses of the order. I can add just a name to my order, so we will have it as identifier, and once again it will be shown in the screen, in that screen that is showing the order's status with my name. If I don't decide to enter any name, it will be just the order number. So we are saying we want to receive notifications and the received in all these ways, and also my name is included in the order. We just move on. As we have selected to receive via email, text message, and WhatsApp, we need to enter all this information. Remember that none of this data is stored, so every time you will need to just add it, just because this is not something that gets saved or stored in the system. So we add then email address, then a phone number, and I want to say that is the same phone number for WhatsApp, right? And then move on. Up to this point, we still have option to choose, so to select or to modify the order. We are prompted here with a summary of the order, everything that we have added to the order, and then we can add a tip. I probably want to modify the order at this point and say, well, you know what? I actually wanted two of these crispy chicken wings. It wasn't only one. Yeah, but this is two, but different specifications. Or I want to just add more items or whatever, so we can get back or get back to the cart and then keep adding items. For example, for this one in particular, the one with more specs, let's say I want to have two, right? So I can modify still, I can get back, I already entered this data, I can modify it if needed, but we can just move on and get back to the checkout option, and then at this point everything is fixed, so we all the time have the possibility to modify the order before it's been placed. As I mentioned before, we at this point can add any tip if we want, so we can select from the list of options that we have here, or we can just add a custom amount, and then that is essentially what I will have in my order as a tip. So I can either select from the options, from the suggested options, or I can just add a custom amount. I can remove it from here, add it again, and then complete the order. As up to this point, then we have completed the order, we can continue to payment, and here we can decide whether we want to pay with debit credit card, which will be an online payment, or just pay at the counter. This also depends on the restaurant operation. Some restaurants might have both options available. Some restaurants might require or might receive only online payments, so or only pay at the counter. So it all depends on the business operation. In my case, for the exercise, I'm going to select just the debit and credit card, so it's going to be a online payment. So I move on, I say pay now, and at this point, we will be displayed with the payments gateway. This is now in Link. Sorry, this is now in Stripe. Stripe is the gateway that we're using for payments. So Stripe actually has an extra functionality, and is this link option. This link is essentially a sort of wallet where you can store, but this will be in Stripe. You can store your payment data, right? If you don't want to use link, then you can just enter your card details, or if you have access from a device with a Google Pay account, then you can use Google Pay. If you are using an iPhone, then you will be able to use Apple Pay as well. Or as I said, you can just enter the data, right, for from your card, and then the payment can be completed. In my case, I'm gonna use Link just because it's easier and faster for me. I already have this data stored. So if I just pay, the order is posted at this point and is being completed. If we have entered um, particular ways to be notified, then at this point we will be receiving the notification about the order. So as I selected WhatsApp as one of the ways to be notified about the order, now we are receiving the confirmation that my order is being received, and actually, as I already paid, I can even see the receipt directly from the link that we are getting here. But as well, I also decided to receive notification via text message. Then in the text message, we also will see then the notification as we mentioned before, and also the link to have direct access to the received. So either from the WhatsApp message or from the text message, we can just access the received just by accessing the link. And then once we access the link, we will see the PDF document, the receipt that was delivered with the food. So we have all the data uh, associated to the order. Please bear in mind that this is a actual receipt because we already paid the order. It was an online payment, so it is completed. So we'll see everything that we ordered with a detail of the tax, some notes at the end, so a standard receipt. And also, as we decided that we wanted to receive the invoice via or the receipt via email, then in the email we also receive the information with the details about the receipt, so it can be downloaded or seen as we did before. As discussed before, when talking about the ordering process, the system then provides full flexibility for the restaurant to create the menus, including unlimited categories, classification of dishes as vegetarian or non-vegetarian, and for every item, unlimited modifiers and extras can be configured. So it can range from something simple as no tomato to something more in the line of the build your own dish concept. Super important to highlight here that these modifiers and extras can optionally include an extra cost. So for instance, it is possible, as we saw it in the demonstration when we were checking the ordering process, it is possible to charge extra for things like extra cheese, extra bacon, etc. So we saw that in the example. Additionally, combos, as we mentioned before, can be created, also including multiple variants for them based on extras and modifiers, which can also be optionally adding extra cost. So we have full flexibility to configure your product's offering. As a couple of facts that we already mentioned, we can have unlimited categories. You add as much details as you want for every single product. Then classify the items between among vegetarian and non-vegetarian, tax applicable per product. So in some particular items you might have a tax applicable, whereas in other items you can have a totally different tax. So let's take a look at how this process works in the organization side of things. We had already the opportunity to see this in the ordering process. Now let's see how it works at the organization level. Then as we need to log in into the admin part of the system, then we can just essentially enter user and password, and then we will be prompted to the admin platform where we have access to pretty much everything that will make our restaurant work. So we will not get into the whole set of details here, but we will focus in the menus management. But later on, we will have the option to check all the different parameters that have to do with the restaurant operation and with the configuration and different sets of functionality. Now let's focus in the product, in menu. So as we mentioned before, the menu can be classified in multiple categories. So we can have all the different categories for the items that we wanna that we wanna just have available, and then these categories can be modified in the order. So we can have the categories being organized and then being shown in the customer application according to the position um, that we select for them in the list. Then we also can create any sort of modifiers or extras. It is important to mention that modifiers and extras might have a cost. So you might notice here that particular extras are including a cost where some others might not, right? The modifier is a very basic record, essentially how we want to see it, if it is vegetarian or not, then a code for it, and a price if it has it. Then the characteristics, also unlimited characteristics, can be created in the system. So essentially anything that can help the customer identify the product is a characteristic. So something that can be simple as to share or low fat or suitable for keto diet or kosher or halal, to something more specific like containing, for example, shellfish or organic food or just spicy or nuts or gluten, or this kind of stuff can be characteristics. Also, in order to have the item created, we also have different taxes. So we can create different taxes, different rates that can be applicable to different items. So when we have these elements in place, then we are actually ready to start moving on the process. Every single product will be listed in this module, so we see every single product that we have available. But we can search particular items, we can order the list, we can sort it based on different in the different columns, right? So very easily we can find the product. So let's take a look at what the options are for every single product. The crispy chicken wings is the item that we saw at the very beginning. It was a item that has some parameters or some modifiers that it would require. We essentially have then at this level we have the category that we want to associate this item with. Then we assign a name. We classify it as vegetarian or non vegetarian. We can define or not the number of calories. If we don't define calories, it will not be shown, nothing will be shown. But if we want to include that as an extra piece of information for our customers, that would be really beneficial. We assign a product code. This code has to be unique for your restaurant. And then you can just add any sort of characteristics, just selecting them all, the characteristics that you want to include for a particular item. You can select and unselect from the list just from the whole set of characteristics that you have available. Then you enter product description. This is what will be seen by the customer. You can add pictures, and these pictures will be just added to the list. You can select them from your drive. Then these pictures are added to the list, right? Or you can just decide to have these pictures directly dragged from your hard drive as you want. I'm selecting just random pictures here just to show in the example. You can select them from your drive and drag and drop them directly into the product details. So you can have unlimited pictures being added to particular items. We assign a tax code from all the lists that we have. We assign a price and a discount in case we want to just keep a discount as an option that is also visible in the customer side. We also define availability of the item. This later on, not in this version, but in the second version, will be the subject for scheduling, so we can sort of schedule the menu. Right now, this functionality is not included in the first version, but will be very soon available. But we will need to select what is the availability of the item along the different options that we have. Then the second part of the product configuration has to do with the extras, with modifiers essentially, right? So we define if the sauces, for example, in this case, we assign a name for the group of options, then we select out of the complete list of modifiers and extras, we select those options that we want to have available under this particular group. And then we can determine if this is something that we require the customer to respond, so is mandatory. Like for example, if my product includes a sauce, then we mark that as a mandatory parameter, right? So the customer has to respond to what sauce he wants. So probably if he don't want a sauce, then probably we can add just the option no sauce, but still has to respond. And then we can also have options as multi-select, which means that multiple of these options can be selected at the same time. So in this way, we can essentially create any sort of configuration for the item. From these particular cases, simple things like no tomato, no onion, extra cheese, extra bacon, etc., to more complex things like, for example, the type of build your own dish concept, like for example a custom pizza. In my case, I have a custom pizza that essentially describes the item as we mentioned before, but everything is on the extras, on the modifiers. So we can select as modifier what is going to be the dough. So we have the different options and it's required, and all these options have different costs. Then what's going to be the base sauce, what's going to be the cheese base, then toppings can be selected in terms of cheese, in terms of meat, in terms of veggies, right? And then the result will be something like this. You select then the dough, right? Depending on what dough you want, traditional dough, thin crust, thick crust, etc. I like cheese crust. But then also base sauce. The base sauce is, for me, the best one is tomato and oregano, right? They all have a price. In this case, it's the same price. But then you can select whether or not you want not the cheese in the base. I do want it. And then the toppings, right? What type of toppings we want. For example, I want mozzarella and cheddar as cheese, right? Multiple options, single options. And then as meat, I want to have some pepperoni and probably some salami. That's all what I want. I don't want, well, probably I will add just some mushrooms, and that would be it. That's essentially what I want, right? We can add any additional request. So essentially any extra information you want to add. Well, then in this way, as you can notice, through modifiers and extras, we can essentially create or implement that option as the build your own dish concept, right? So modifiers and extras will allow us then to be very simple in the way we're modifying or adding variants to the products, things like no tomato or extra cheese, to something much more, let's say, elaborated that can help us with even things like build your own dish concept. In addition then to the standard products, we can also create combos as we saw them in the previous application, the combos, right? are essentially different items that we're grouping under just one product description. And as we mentioned before, those combos might have specific items that are fixed items and some others that can be variables, right? As drinks or modifiers or whatever we want. So that is essentially what I want to show you here. Then in the organization side, how this is configured is very, very simple. So we define, as we did with the product, we define, well, basic information, combo, name, category. The categories for combos are specific categories, so we only have a couple of categories that are for combos. Um, so we create the category as a combo one, so we can have it available here. Then we add characteristics, tax code, a description, total calories, combo price, discount, and availability. Also pictures, as we are all used to. And then when it comes to combo configuration, then we define what product we want to add. If we call it a single product, that will be just an option that is fixed, as in this case, when we are selecting here, my chicken combo, we have a product that is fixed, crispy chicken wings, is single. And then a secondary single product. This is also French fries. So it's fixed. But then for product 3, we said that this case is going to be multiple. And multiple means, the combo title is drink, so we define the group as a drink. And this means that we have 3 different options to select from. And to each of these options, we can add a specific extra price. Remember that this is to modify the price of the combo, right? So if we select a soda, as we have described soda with 0, that means that we are not adding any extra value. But if we select a lemonade, it would be 2 more euros, right? So that is essentially what we can configure. And then, in addition to the products per se, which we already defined, it could be single or multiple, then we can also create a set of different modifiers and categories. So we can define modifiers and different, extras and modifiers in the same way we define them for every single product. So we can also have things like modifiers, extra things, or things like sauces, or this type of options available for the customer. So we can create then different products, we can create different combos, or we can just play with these different concepts. Finally, when it comes to the menus management, I'm just going to talk about the complementary menu. Well, this is essentially the different options that we have available when we are at the cart. So when we are at the cart, we can complement our cart with the options that we can select um, from the ones that you have added to this particular menu. So it would be on the restaurant to define what products they want to have as suggestions for the complimentary menu that we will see at the card. Now, back to the presentation. Now that we have discussed the flexibility on the menu's configuration and the whole process flow for the online ordering, let us focus on what happens at the restaurant site, at the kitchen. When the order is placed by the customer, it is automatically displayed in the orders management screen, what I have on my screen right now. Well, the order here can be opened or it can be placed in progress, right? Please keep in mind that when the order changes the status or in progress, the customer will receive a notification on their smartphone via text message or WhatsApp message, right? At the same time, if the restaurant has an order status screen, the order will be shown in the in progress list on that screen, right? So essentially the orders management screen is where we have the complete list of different orders to be processed. So we can see here, this is in the system now. So every time we're placing an order, and I really quick will configure an order here. I had already one created here. I will just move on it on this one just to show you the whole process, right? I will just add one item. I said that I'm going to be just notified via text message and WhatsApp. And then this is the name that I want to assign to this particular order, right? It is called demo, so we can see it. Then I'm going to assign a number for this, right? I'm going to say that WhatsApp number is the same. Complete. I'm going to add 10% to the tip, and I want to just have it pay at counter instead of debit credit card. So if I say pay at counter, when I hit finish, what happens is that the order is automatically shown. It's automatically shown, as you can see, in the orders list. So we can see it here. Then the order is displayed in the orders management screen. This is the one that we just received, right? And from this point on, well, there are multiple things that can be done. First and foremost, we might want to just open the order from here. We can just open the order, see what is the content of this. This is a custom pizza. We selected all these things, right? And from here, we can decide what is, well, the option to go. In this case, we can either move it, process it, or just say from this point I want to send it to in progress. Or if we have the KDS in place, which is the screen, we see the whole order here, right? And then we can change the status of the order from this point. We can say either start cooking or in or if the order is in progress, we can finish cooking. So these two screens here will just allow us to this process. But let's focus on the orders management screen. So we are in this at this moment with the demo order. So we see here everything that is required, right? So we can process it accordingly. Once we define this, we can move this order to in progress. Now it's in progress. If we have a customer screen, we will see the automatic, the in progress, sorry, the order that we just moved to in progress in the list. You can notice that it will be identified with the name you assign to the order, right? If we have no assigned any name, it will be just the number, the order number. It is much easier if we assign a name, so we can identify this depending, of course, on the particular business operation. So we moved it to in progress. Now the order is here and we can keep adding things, right? So now that the order is in progress, we can mark it as ready, and then immediately in my screen, in my customer's order screen, we will see it. Please bear in mind that every time we're changing the order status from received to in progress to ready, customer will receive a notification directly on their smartphones. So as you can see, this is in WhatsApp. We received the notifications, order is now received. We can download either the order confirmation if it's not paid or the actual invoice if it's already paid. Now the order is in progress. So every time we're changing the status, we will receive either a message or we'll be receiving a text message or a message via WhatsApp, depending on how we selected to be notified. All right, but then for, let's say, more high volume operations, Ethos ordering system has another way to show the orders at the kitchen. Well, I briefly showed it before, but this is essentially the kitchen display system, or KDS. With this feature, orders are shown automatically in the screen when they are placed by customers from their devices. The advantage of the KDS functionality is that orders are displayed already with all the details, avoiding the need to open them one by one. So it all depends on what is the best option, what is the most suitable option for your restaurant operation. In some cases, the orders management screen will do the job, whereas in other cases, it will be much suitable to have KDS in place. Normally, we have associated KDS with high volume operations, but again, it will depend on the restaurant's operation. The staff at the kitchen can easily visualize the whole content of the order and also move it to in progress, which will trigger the user notification, as we discussed before, and display of the order in the in progress list on the order's status screen if the restaurant has one. This feature has a significant impact in the order accuracy since the order is directly received by the kitchen as well as the speed of service, of course, since communication is pretty much direct between customer and kitchen. So it is very simple, right? The concept, but really powerful. Once the order is ready to be delivered, its status is changed or moved to ready, and another notification, as we have been discussing before, will be delivered to the customer via text or WhatsApp message, indicating that the order is either ready to be picked up or ready to be delivered to the table. Well, depending again in the business operational model, right? Some of the benefits from the kitchen display system are that, of course, it eliminates the confusion and inefficiencies associated with manual ticket systems. That is kind of the most important point here. Say goodbye to handwritten orders and miscommunication between front of house and kitchen staff. So we don't have the need to have people just writing things down and moving it into the kitchen, creating opportunities for errors. KDS allows for a quicker access to new orders, ensuring that the kitchen can begin preparing dishes without delay. This allows for a faster turnaround, improved table service, and higher customer satisfaction, which is ideal for both dine-in and takeout services. Reduce the need for additional staff dedicated to managing and relaying orders to the kitchen. And one important topic is that it helps on tracking kitchen performance, providing valuable insights into preparation times, popular menu items, and potential bottlenecks. So KDS will then assist with expediting this work process, right? We noticed then that we moved the order we had into progress. So at some point, then we moved it to ready, so it's no longer here. But as order keeps coming, right, we can keep moving them into progress. Now, remember that every time we're moving the order is being displayed in that customer order status screen, right? Now my order is, for example, in this case, is in progress, right? And then at this point, we can just have access to the whole detail of the order without the need to open it. Everything is here, is as if we had little post-its on a board or something like that. It's kind of mimicking the whole process, but it's, well, managed automatically on this screen, right? And once the order is ready, this order has a name on it, is Marco. Then we say, yeah, now it's ready, finished. Now it's in the ready list and is being shown then in the customer status screen and in the orders management screen as ready as well, right? So the process in the kitchen can be then either managed using the orders management screen, or we have identified this more suitable for high volumes, but it all depends on the operation, the KDS, the kitchen display system, that will allow us then to have a complete visibility on all the orders that are coming. We can start processing them automatically and then moving the different statuses of these different orders. As we mentioned before, if the business operational model includes the need to show the status of the order to the customers, this can be done with the order status screen, what we have been showing every time we're changing the different statuses in the orders. The screen has an independent axis and essentially shows in progress and ready orders, making it easy for the customers to follow up the status of their orders. This is perfect, for example, for the pick up at counter type of business, but well, it is applicable for any sort of operation. And we have it available, so it's depending on the restaurant, on the organization to decide what part of this should be placed to be used. It provides real-time updates showing customers exactly when the order is in progress already. Remember that customers can personalize their orders with a name, making it easy to identify on the screen. Customers receive instant notifications on the phone whenever their orders changes. And of course, this reduces congestion at the counter and frees up the staff. The screen will look something more similar to what we have right now on the screen. Right now it's like this. We can have a full screen view of this. And just for the demo, I have used a lighter version, but we will improve a little bit this design. But in essence, we will have what we have on the screen being shown in a big screen to inform customers about the status of the different orders. Another important feature, another important piece of functionality to be considered is what happens when we have orders that are required to be paid or checked out at counter. So even though, and this is important that we highlight it, even though um, um, the online payment is kind of the basic process flow when we are ordering um, directly from the smartphones. Well, this option is also available for any restaurant that wanna activate it. Once again, this is a parameter that is activated whether or not we wanna use offline payments. So essentially, for those businesses that definitely require checkout at cashier, either aside the online payments or as the only option, Ethos ordering system includes the functionality to check out orders, registering payments with cash or card. One important clarification: although the system is not processing the actual payment, this will be still done. This will still be done with a POS terminal or card reader connected to the bank. So the system is not processing the actual payment. Ethos ordering system allows you to register the payment associated to the order, either as cash or card. So this record is linked to the user that is logged in when the transaction is posted, allowing that later on a payments report can be generated by user so the business can process a balance a till per user at any moment, right? So we can take a real quick look at this process. So back again to the order screen, we see that some of the orders are paid online, most of them, but some of them are to be paid at counter. They are not paid, right? When they are not paid, well, they are supposed to be paid at counter, right? This one, for example, is already paid, but it was paid in cash. We can have then at the pay at counter, sorry, at the orders management system, the option to register the payment. So we just get into the order that is not paid online or is not yet paid, and we can just select it from the option paid at counter. Then the system will tell me how much is supposed to be paid. We can select either we want to receive a payment on credit card and we go register the payment automatically from here, or if we want to just say with cash, and in this case we can enter here how much they are paying with, so we have the due as informative part of the process. So the order gets completed once is paid, right? At this point, we have all the order, all the whole process done. At this point, if my customer has selected a notification means, so we will be delivering the receipt according to what the customer selected to be notified as. Then we can have, as we mentioned, the pay with cash is 34. In this case, if I select 40, then you have due 6, right? In this case, I'm going to select just credit and debit card. And then the order gets registered as paid, right? So we know that it was paid by card. Once this process is completed, I mean all the payments have been processed at any moment or any instance, then the business can process what is called a balance till or just a payments report. So once we have the payments completed, right, or the orders have been processed, then it is a matter of generating a balance till or a just a payments report at any instance, at any minute. We can just get there. As we mentioned before, this is based on users. This is an user by user basis. So we just select the user that we want to generate the report for, right? For example, I'm going to select this user here, and he will and the system will show me all the transactions that are posted for that user. Let's pretend that today is August the 26th, but I only want to see the transactions during that day. So I can just select that day, saying that is from August the 26th, let's say from the beginning of the day to the same day at the end of the day. But we can just select any data and time, any date, time range as desired to generate this report. In this case, system is telling me that this guy has received a total amount of 307.69, and out of this 107.76 is received by card, whereas 189.93 is received by cash. We see all the different transactions here. We notice, for example, that this transaction is card, right? This transaction is card, so probably these two are making this amount, and the other transactions are cash, right, which are making this amount. The system will show me what was the initial balance, then the transaction amount, and the final balance after all these transactions. And we can even just select the cash payments, right? So it will show me how much is in cash or only card payments, right? So we will see then the selection. Remember that this is by user, user by user. Now let's talk invoicing. Ethos ordering system is designed as a paperless solution, which means that receipts are meant to be delivered electronically as PDF documents via email or text messages as SMS, as we mentioned before, or WhatsApp messages. The invoice is delivered immediately after the online payment is complete. For those business with checkout at counter or checkout at cashier operations, an order confirmation is delivered instead when the order is placed. And then, upon payment to the cashier, the actual invoice is delivered via text or WhatsApp message. Although we have mentioned that the Ethos ordering system is designed again as a paperless solution for those business, for those operations that require this, the invoice or the order, well, it can be printed out at any instance, at any minute can be printed out, right? So it's not like we never make it to print. Any moment we can just be in the order screen and decide to print it. If a personalized invoice is required by the customer, this is essentially an invoice including their own name, ID, etc. It can also be requested on a website in receipts.ethosorders.com, and providing basic data, it will be immediately delivered via email. But once again, at any minute, we can essentially select the order and based on that order, we can decide it to check the invoice and print it out, right? So at any minute, the order can be accessed, and once, as is a PDF document, once the order is shown, then at any minute, the invoice can be seen from the order screen or from different places in the system, so we can just see it and being printed, right? At any minute. So it still can be printed whenever required, if that makes sense. Let's focus on a very interesting feature that we have available in Ethos ordering system, and it has to do with the raw materials, inventory management, and materials explosions. This is a pretty unique functionality included in Ethos ordering system, right? Through this feature, the system provides the capability to create a complete recipe for each product in the restaurant menu, describing each ingredient and specific quantities, as well as any estimated waste. The ingredients, including these recipes, are referred as raw materials, and they will need to be created in the raw materials master. For every ingredient or raw material, a unit of measure and a cost is included. So every time there is an inventory transaction, so it's a purchase, a waste disposal, or any sort of adjustments, these transactions can be posted in the system through a specific transaction codes that are defined by the restaurant operation. So you determine what type of transactions you want to have in place. And in addition, when any product is sold, the system will post the consumption of every ingredient included in the product recipe based on the quantities specified in that recipe. In this way, the stock of every ingredient of raw materials is all the time up to date, since inventory is updated in real time. What we have on the screen right now is essentially a very, very basic recipe card for a particular item, right? We can take a look here, then in the system, how is that the recipe cards are actually working. So to begin with, we need to have a list of raw materials, right? Every raw material includes a unit of measurement and a cost, as we mentioned before. So for any raw material, we will be defining these particular concepts, unit of measurement and cost. It is important also to mention that we can define any sort of transaction codes for inventory. So we can define, for example, that we want to have purchases, and the purchase will be a in transaction, so in an inbound transaction. On the other hand, we can have waste disposal as an out transaction, but we can also have inbound adjustments, outbound adjustments, right? Remember that this is then configured, customized for every restaurant, so you can have any sort of transaction codes. Then once we have raw materials and transactions, we can essentially play with the inventory, right? For example, just a really quick example, we have something called raw material 003, right? And if we want to just modify this, the raw material, we can just update the record. But if we want to post any inventory transaction for the different items, for example, we know that for raw material 001, we have this quantity, this amount of this raw material, depending on the unit of measurement, right? The out of this other raw material, we have this amount and so on, right? We can keep adding transactions. So we know here that raw material 008, we have 55 in place, and we can add other type of transactions. So we select, let's say we have a purchase of this raw material 008, we have 55 in stock, right? And we are adding 100 more, and this is purchased when demo, right? So now we have updated the stock, and now we have 155 of this raw material 008, right? So we can post any sort of transactions, inbound and outbound transaction, and keep a accurate stock level. But probably we want to know everything that happened with a particular raw material, right? So then we will go to the transactions log. We see in this transaction log everything that happened at the inventory level, right? In this case, the system is telling me that at this time, this day, this user posted this transaction, that we had this quantity to begin with, then this transaction was posted, and then we ended up with this quantity, right? If we have assigned any note or extra data, we can see it here, right? And it's a purchase. That is the last record. But if we want to see everything that has happened with that particular item, we just select it from the list, and then the system will show me everything that happened with that particular item, right? So the system will tell me that, for example, this one item, today, the same day that we did this purchase, it was consumed, and it was consumed by another order. It was consumed by this order number, right? So at some point, we are using this raw material 008 for a particular item, right? That we already sold. We have a consumption out, and this is the order that made this consumption. So we consume these 5, right? But also we purchased 100 units of the item, and therefore we are keeping the inventory up to date. So all the time we have the whole transaction log for every single raw material that we have in place. Of course, this is also something that we can just filter by a date and time range. So we can see, for example, for the whole month of October, just everything that happened just during that month with that particular raw material. So all the transactions that were posted during that daytime range, right? And will just give me essentially the whole historical set of data. associated to this raw material. And then, based on this particular approach, we also have mentioned that every single product that we have in the menu can be associated to a recipe card, right? Probably we saw that 5 of this raw material 8 was already consumed because we sold a sweet potatoes. We sold this item, so this consumption was posted there. And then also we have a recipe for sweet potatoes, for example, including 2 raw materials, 2 ingredients, is consuming 10 grams of this ingredient, 5 grams of this ingredient. We can define a waste by percentage. This is estimated waste. Or we can define waste by quantity. In this case, I have no estimated waste of these ingredients. But creating the recipe card is a very simple process. We just define what are the raw materials that are going to be involved in the recipe and the quantities, as well as the expected waste. Once we have the recipe cards in place, then the raw materials that we have specified here will be consumed. A consumption transaction is being posted at every single raw material. So we keep the stock of these items absolutely up to date, keeping then the inventory management process under the whole control based on the material explosions that are coming from the recipe cards. The last part of this overview has to do with the multi-user capability. This is another significant advantage of Ethos ordering system, right? We have the capability to create an unlimited number of users, so every employee can have their own own login credentials and access specific parts of the system. So role-specific user profiles can be created. An user, for instance, can only have access to checkout or cashier, whereas other user can only have access to raw materials, inventory transactions, and probably another user to only orders management, right? So in the system, we can define what user will be accessing what specific parts of the system, right? Creating then role-specific user profiles. Process in the system is done in a very basic way. So we have a list of different users, right? And then for every user, we can define if it's active or inactive. Then we can define what access we will be granting them to, right? And at what level. So every single user will have then their specific login when we are in the system. If we want to enter with the specific admin account, or if we want to just get with the employee login, then we will be using the specific user credentials.